In the 20th century, mankind split the atom and unleashed forces that could erase civilization in seconds. This is the story of how it happened. The people, the science, the politics, and the fire that changed the world forever. This is the birth of the atomic bomb. In 1905, Albert Einstein published his theory of special relativity. In it, he introduced a simple-looking formula, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. It was a profound idea that mass, no matter how small, contains vast amounts of energy. But for decades, it was just a theoretical idea. Nobody had any practical way to convert mass into energy. That changed in 1938. In a lab in Nazi Germany, two scientists, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann, discovered something strange. When they bombarded uranium atoms with neutrons, the atoms split apart. This process, called nuclear fission, released massive amounts of energy and more neutrons. That meant one split could trigger more splits, a chain reaction. Soon, physicist Lisa Meitner and her nephew Otto Frisch explained what was really happening. Splitting an atom was releasing a huge amount of energy, confirming Einstein's theory and proving that a nuclear chain reaction was possible. The scientific world was stunned. This wasn't just a new discovery, it was a new kind of power. But in 1939, the world was on edge. Hitler had invaded Poland, war had begun in Europe, and now there was a terrifying possibility. What if Nazi Germany built a bomb using this new science? Hungarian physicist Leo Szilard, along with Edward Teller and Eugene Wigner, all refugees from fascist Europe, realized the danger. They turned to the one man whose name could get the attention of the US president, Albert Einstein. In August 1939, Einstein signed a letter to President Franklin Roosevelt. It warned that Germany was likely working on a nuclear weapon, and that the United States must act quickly. Roosevelt responded. He created the Advisory Committee on Uranium. It was small at first, but after America entered World War II in 1941, everything changed. The race for the bomb had begun. By 1942, the United States launched the most secret, most expensive scientific project in history, the Manhattan Project. Across the country, secret facilities were built in remote locations: Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Hanford, Washington, and most famously, Los Alamos, New Mexico. At Los Alamos, theoretical physicist J.R. Robert Oppenheimer was put in charge of designing the bomb. He would become known as the father of the atomic bomb. The science was incredibly complex. The goal was to create a self-sustaining chain reaction in either uranium-235 or plutonium-239, two rare forms of matter capable of fission. But natural uranium contains less than 1% of the uranium-235 isotope. The rest is uranium-238, which doesn't fission easily. So scientists had to figure out how to separate uranium-235 from the rest, an enormously difficult task. Meanwhile, another team developed plutonium in nuclear reactors, turning uranium-238 into a new fissionable material. It was even more powerful than uranium. There were two bomb designs. The first, called Little Boy, used uranium-235. It worked by shooting one piece of uranium into another to reach critical mass. The second bomb, called Fat Man, used but plutonium's properties were more difficult. It required a completely different method: implosion. Explosives had to compress a plutonium core into a supercritical sphere. After years of calculations, experiments, and sleepless nights, the moment of truth came in July 1945. In the desert of New Mexico, the scientists gathered for the first ever nuclear test, the Trinity test. At 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, a blinding light lit up the desert. A fireball rose into the sky. Shockwaves rippled across the ground. The world had entered the nuclear age. Oppenheimer later said that, in that moment, he remembered a line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Just weeks later, the bomb would be used, not in a test, but in war. Germany had already surrendered, but Japan refused to give up. The United States, believing an invasion would cost millions of lives, made a decision that would change history. On August 6, 1945, a B-29 bomber named Enola Gay dropped the little boy bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. In seconds, the city was vaporized. Tens of thousands died instantly. More would suffer in the days and years to follow. 3 days later, on August 9th, a second bomb, Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki. Japan surrendered soon after. World War II was over. But the atomic age had just begun. In the years that followed, the Soviet Union developed its own bomb. The arms race escalated. Hydrogen bombs, far more powerful than the original atomic bombs, were tested. The threat of global nuclear war hung over the world during the Cold War. Scientists, once filled with pride, now felt the burden of their creation. Many who built the bomb later advocated for peace, arms control, and the abolition of nuclear weapons. Today, the power unleashed in 1945 still exists. Thousands of nuclear warheads remain, scattered around the world. The knowledge of how to split the atom cannot be unlearned. The atomic bomb was not just a scientific breakthrough, it was a mirror, reflecting the darkest and brightest parts of human nature. Our genius, our fear, our ambition, our capacity for destruction, and for choice. This is the legacy of the bomb. It was born in secrecy, forged in war, and it changed everything.